Good morning, thriving warriors and those who wish they were. Alexa, what's the date? Oh, do it again. Alexa, what's the date?
It's Thursday, October 13th.
Great. And Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 6:25 a.m. Have a good morning, Edward.
And Alexa, what is the weather forecast?
Currently, in Amargosa Valley, it's 55 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies. Today, you can expect lots of sun, with a high of 89 degrees and a low of 51 degrees.
Okay, well, good morning. Good morning, people. We are with the special day. We're not going to do our usual podcast. We are very fortunate to have an actual Navy SEAL here with us today. This is Dave Schmick, and Dave's going to do all the talking in just a second. Maybe I'll help him a little bit along the way or clarify some things we want to know. But this is our opportunity to get firsthand knowledge, have a Navy SEAL here, and have firsthand information about yesterday was the only easy day and why that has any meaning to SEALs. So Dave, tell us a little bit about your SEAL background or where you grew up.
Okay.
No, now, but I want to just preface by saying, okay, we're going to try to keep this to 10 minutes, which means under 20.
Okay.
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 Good.
So, simple fashion. I grew up in Southern Oregon and had decided at a young 18 that I was going to go into the military service. With that in mind, I had no idea of what I was going to do. The decisions were quickly moving past me as I was a product of a lot of partying and doing things that were not really conducive to a good career. Once I got into the Navy, I recognized that there were some choices to be made. I sat at boot camp and decided I was going to be a parachute rigger. Sat down with the detailer at the time, or the company commander, and we went through some different choices, and I selected to be a parachute rigger, aircrew survival equipmentman. I went off to A school, got myself established, but I didn't really take to the fact I was didn't give away my partying days. Mm-hmm. I was still doing a lot of the irresponsible things, and it took me to get in trouble a couple of times to realize that I needed a better direction. Was sent to sea, and while there, some family members had given me some information about a teacher, a pastor, that was an author, a teacher. He was just extremely good material. I started to read, and that really opened my eyes to where my deficit was. So I took
immediate, or did it take years?
No, it pretty much was immediate. When I started looking at this material, I recognized that the Lord was knocking on the door, and he was saying, if you're going to do anything successful, you're going to have to put me first. You're going to have to put me first.
And you said, okay.
Yes.
And things started moving in a better direction.
That's right. As soon as I got done with that cruise, I came back. There were some changes in my life. I met an individual that came in and said, the way that you do things, the way that you work out, the way that you focus, and your dedication, why don't you look at the SEAL teams? And I thought, well, I remember that from boot camp. They did a little offer to have you come in and do the thing. But that's all I really remembered. It wasn't long after that I started working out a little more intense. And then he came to me one day, and we were sitting having a beer. Mm-hmm. And he said, are you going to do this or are you not? And at that moment,
SEAL.
Yeah, going to BUDS, going to SEAL training. So I decided at that point that the Lord had put me in this position and was wanting me to go down this path. It just became very clear to me that this is the direction I needed to go. So within a very short period of time, I went down, I checked in with the the guy that was doing the testing over at old UDT 22. And I said, I'm going to be back.
What year was this?
And this was in 1981.
Okay. So you'd been in what, 7 years, 6 years?
I came into late entry in 76, active in
Okay,
77.
so 5 years.
So about 5.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you've been in a while.
So I've been in a little while, and
And how was Buds?
And so yeah, so
Like they say,
shortly thereafter, was that training. Buds was for me.
was this in Coronado?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. At that time, all of the training had centered in Coronado. There's no more East Coast training.
Okay.
There was no other place for naval special warfare training, and I realized that this was going to be drinking through a fire hose very quickly. I was a runner. I was a runner in high school, and I could run. That was probably the easiest part of all my physical portions. Well, I took off on the first run, and they were going over sand dunes and down through the beach and back up again. And about 3-4 miles into this, I recognized this was no joke. I started day one. Okay. I started to fade back, and I had a lieutenant commander.
How many guys in the class?
There was probably starting. We were pretty close to 100.
Okay.
It was in the 90s where we first started. But I remember.
So before the race, I'm a good runner. This isn't going to be hard.
Yeah, you're thinking that this is a standard run. Everything's good. Well, then I had a guy grab me by the arm, and this commander grabbed me up, and he looked at me and he says, "We'll have you out of here by nightfall. Now get your butt up there." And it snapped. This was a wake-up call. So finished the run, and from that point on, it really was a matter of me daily recognizing that the Lord was going to be with me through this, but I had to be prepared each and every day. I had to look at each evolution.
Got it.
Each period had to be itself. And I couldn't start looking at the week ahead, a month ahead. What am I going to do when I graduate? Those things don't.
Mark Devine talks about just focus on getting done with this evolution.
That's it.
And maybe I'll get a drink, or maybe after this, whatever, something, but that's it.
Get through that. Okay. And I totally believe that this is the way that it is step check. And then the Lord's plan, he has us only going a certain period at a time.
Okay.
It definitely ties in.
Okay.
So, I look at that statement, yesterday was the only easy day. It goes back to history of that. It was a class. And I want to say it was class 88 and 89, maybe. Each class has to come up with a logo, a motto, something that epitomized their particular class. And their particular input was the only easy day was yesterday.
Yeah, well, I know we kind of had a little bit.
Well, and I think there's some reasons for that, but the bottom line is it means the same thing. And if you put that into perspective, what we had yesterday is gone. And I mean that in the sense that whatever trials, whatever tribulations, whatever circumstances, we may have not achieved what we wanted to on that day, but that day is gone. But today is the new opportunity. There's a Bible verse that I commonly use every morning,
which is
Psalm 118:24. And it says that this is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be in a superabundance of happiness. And if we're focusing our day on that to just start with, even before prayer, even before anything we do.
Do you refer to that as a prayer that you say?
It's Bible verse.
Okay.
And
do you use it as a prayer?
It's more of a
affirmation,
setting up the prayer.
I see.
The first thing is just to clear your mind, grab a verse, and then go into your prayer. That's my particular thing. So Once
So again, that was Psalm.
118:24.
Okay. So I have, this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Is that what you said?
Right. Well, each translation is going to carry
Yeah.
with it a little bit different verbiage.
This is the NKJV.
Yeah, New King James Bible.
Okay.
What?
Which one do you use?
Well, I use the New American Standard, but our particular pastor had conjugated and taught from the original languages. And so we have been accustomed to getting probably the best translation of what he pulls from the original language and original text. There's a word that finishes that out, and that word in Hebrew is simcha, S-I-M-C-A-H, simcha. And simcha is really an abundance of happiness. It's an inner happiness. It's a contentment. And so that really sets that verse out as not just be glad in it.
Yeah.
That doesn't really hit the point.
And I wasn't really listening in detail when you said it. So would you mind saying it again?
Sure.
Okay.
So the last portion of that is
Uh-huh.
all centered on the word simcha, which
Okay,
is
but I mean the actual verse.
okay. The verse finishes.
24.
This is the day that the Lord hath made.
Uh-huh.
Let us rejoice and be in a superabundance or an abundance of happiness.
Okay. And simcha, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Okay. That means what?
It means an abundance of contentment or
okay.
happiness.
Wow. Okay.
It clarifies the verse so much better.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how you start your day.
That's how I start my
And
day.
do you do Proverbs in the morning?
Dan
Dan does Proverbs. They do them with a group,
Mhm.
and everybody reads one of the verses, I guess, and then they talk about it. And so today they're doing 13.
Uh-huh.
Oh, do you do that? Is that
No.
a common thing?
It really just depends on your circumstance in life. For me, now as a retired SEAL, my reach into the community is limited these days. Past experience was I got out and then I went overseas. I did some security related work.
Mm-hmm.
I came back at the war. 9/11 happened. And then I did another 16 years with the Admiral staff.
Oh, wow.
So
You were on teams how many years?
20 years.
20 years on teams. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's considering also my time at the units.
Okay.
I was forward deployed in 2 times, one in Guam and one in Philippines before.
I mentioned my daughter's going to JSOC, and one of the things they might have her do is attach to a team for imaging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these SEALs these days and the technical aspect are a far cry different than when I first came in the early 80s. We were totally self-supportive back then.
Okay. Yeah, because she does satellite stuff for the NGA at the NGA at Fort Belvoir, and she's just doing satellite imaging right now. So I'll say, Catherine, what do you do? She says, I just look at train stations in China, which isn't what she does, but that's what she'll say she does. And so I thought it was kind of, wow, there's this SEAL teams have a satellite imaging person assigned to them now.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's that way across the board. The operators, the SEAL operators was the goal. And the Army kind of set that as we melded into U.S. Special Operations Command. A lot of the Army techniques, tactics, procedures were ingrained into all of SOCOM. So the SEALs had to start learning things like an ODB team, which was a support for the A team. And that's a concept that we didn't have. We didn't have the money for it. We didn't have the capabilities for it. And so over time, especially during the advent of the war, we started recognizing in the SEAL community there was a need for specialists.
I see.
experts in the field of intelligence
Got it.
and various other things that were brought in.
So the Army actually helped. I'm
Yes,
just kidding, Randy.
there was a lot of training interface in the Marine Corps. One of the examples I can use in my early days in my second platoon was my officer, my OIC, who had been a prior Marine officer.
Mhm.
And he said, if we truly wanted to learn how to shoot correctly, you go by the number.
Oh.
And he took us up to Pendleton,
Yeah.
and we did snap-in drills. We ran the targets, the butts.
Yeah.
We learned everything. Of course, we did it kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
But once we got the results of that, our whole platoon had moved up
Wow.
exponentially.
Everybody I talk to who's a Marine says they're a rifleman, that is their thing.
That's right.
But you shoot way more rounds than anybody else, right?
Right.
Combined, like
And
each SEAL shoots what?
well,
Equivalent
these
of-
days it's hard to know. I mean, my finger's not on the pulse like
Yeah,
it was, but there was,
When you were in,
yeah,
lot of practice.
and it picked up every year we got, and then after the war kicked off, I mean, it was just opened up the training, the potential, all the different stuff that was available.
When you were a SEAL, were you about the average height and weight
I'm very standard. I think
for then? But it seemed to me like now they're getting bigger. Is that true or not?
when I left the Admiral staff was in late 2016, 17, and I had a couple of guys that I was kind of mentoring that were through there, and I'm looking at the classes, and I didn't see a whole lot of difference.
Okay.
Maybe a more physically capable than ever before, because the standards,
Yeah.
you can meet the same standards, but to actually get selected now requires to be another
Oh, it's
10 to
So
15%
it's like going to
above that.
Stanford. And so Mark is a pretty big guy.
Yeah. Mark's probably over 6 foot.
And Jocko, is he tall?
Or
Or just thick?
Jocko's probably
Muscular.
6 foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jeff Reynolds, who I don't remember, did you say you knew Jeff?
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
Yeah. Jeff's big.
Uh-huh.
Some of our Texas guys,
Yeah.
Chris Kyle and Marcus and,
Oh, yeah, right.
and Morgan Luttrell.
Yeah.
They're all big guys.
Okay.
But if you talk to most of the team guys, they'll tell you that the average SEAL is probably 5'10", 180
Yeah.
pounds.
The first SEAL I met was in the production business, Chris Petiprin, I think it was his name. And he was around your time, thin guy. It was like, you were a Navy SEAL?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, it's just, fast. It was fast. So most of the guys that are on doing Jocko, how about Goggins? Did you ever run across him?
From the recruiting side, they had the recruiting directorate associated with WarCom. We were in the same building at one point. So yeah, I knew him by,
It seemed like he was more of an athlete than an operator.
I think that's what he probably would tell you too.
Oh,
Mindset.
Got it.
A guy that was truly a tough and a very dedicated tenacity. These are kind of terms that I would associate with Goggins. Yeah.
I think he said it took him like 3 times to get through buds.
Yeah.
He got injured the first time or something.
Not uncommon. I'm one of 3 in my family. I'm the oldest.
Yeah.
When I went through, my next brother up was looking to come in the Navy. He said, I think I'll do some diving stuff. I said, no, you need to come this way. Then you can decide if you want to do something else. Well, I was fortunate, maybe because of my size, I went through buds without being injured or rolled back. That doesn't mean I didn't have my challenges. I had instructors that were watching me for other things. But my brother came through and bigger, and he got stress fractures in his legs, which was common, and got rolled back a class. The third brother came through, and he was doing an obstacle course and dislocated his shoulder.
Wow.
Got rolled back. And then he got the stress fractures in the next class and got rolled back again. persevered through that
Wow.
to make it. We had to go down and have a little talk, a brotherly discussion, but he, it was very.
What was it about? Was it about, a pep talk of you can do this? If
Just
you put your mind to it.
See
trust
where
the
he
Lord.
was, see where he
Okay.
was in his mind. And can you go one more round?
Now, what do you say to guys that are ready to tap out if you don't want them to?
I've never
Most
been in that position
I see.
except for the mentorship I did with a couple guys that were passed off to me from some friends of mine and said, hey, watch this guy.
Oh.
And if he runs into problems, just be there for him.
Okay.
And that did happen
Uh-huh.
on one gentleman. He got into first phase and he actually broke his femur,
Oh, wow.
the stress fracture of the femur, and got rolled back, and it bothered him. So we did have to have that sit down conversation. Fortunately, he was a believer,
Uh-huh.
a believer in Jesus Christ and a Christian. And the Lord will tell you when it's time. He will show you if it's time for you to do something different.
I see.
You can't pass a door
Got
or go through it.
Uh-huh.
And if you try, crawl in the window, you'll not be where he wants you to be,
Uh-huh.
and there won't be the success. So he recognized it. He just had to buck it up, go back in, and he made it through the second time.
Wow. When a class starts, do the instructors quickly try to figure out who's probably going to make it, or is it just we're just doing the process and we'll see?
My opinion,
See how it shakes out.
yeah, my opinion of that is, even over the years, the instructor staff may have discussions amongst themselves on who they think may make it. I even know of times in the past where guys were betting to see,
Uh-huh.
without doing influence on guys, supposedly.
Yeah.
But I think it's so difficult. I remember in my class, the proctor, each class has its own proctor, and at the completion of Hell Week,
Uh-huh.
they come down, they shake your hand. Well, the proctor's the last guy out of all the instructors that come through, and he had little comments to make with each one. Hey, you did really good at this. He got to me and he goes, Schmeck, you must have cheated. And I thought, well, yeah, that's probably how it looked.
Yeah.
Or at least
Yeah.
to my mind, the Lord will supersede all things.
Uh-huh.
And it'll be surprising to people. I've seen guys much smaller than me make it through training. Some of the big guys didn't weather well. It just depends.
I think it was Mark that told me that the physical part is hard, but it's more of the mental part.
I agree with that.
Like seeds are planted. Wouldn't you rather go out on a date with your girlfriend tonight because you're not going to make it anyway?
Yeah. And as the day goes through, depending on what the evolutions are, you're going to be faced with that. You're going to have these alternative, things that, when you're cold and you're miserable, and it's now entering the evening hours, and the Pacific Ocean it never really gets that warm.
Yeah.
So you're going to be dealing with this, and it becomes a real pull. Personally, and I think there's some truth to this, that the tenacity aspect,
Mm-hmm.
I believe we're born with it.
Okay.
I believe we're born with it. There was even a study done, and I think there was a special that, what's his name, Rollins, Henry Rollins of music fame,
Okay.
did a thing called the warrior gene.
Oh.
Now, I'm not
Yeah.
a scientist, and I don't
Yeah.
know if that, in fact, is
Uh-huh.
geneticist,
Uh-huh.
but there is a certain tenacity, I think, that men are
Sure.
given from square one. And it doesn't mean that you go around acting like a tough guy.
Yeah.
It means that there's something in you that will drive you when needed to be. You can
All
turn
hope is
that.
lost and you keep going.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's another gear there that you can shift when it's miserable. And you
So
watch
is it like the SEALs pull that out of you, or you have that when you get into buds?
I think you have it to start in, but it doesn't.
You have it and you've used it, or are you saying everybody has it? Some people use it, or they know they have it?
I'm
Or you're
saying
not everybody has it.
I don't think everybody has it.
Okay.
I
So
think
if you do have it,
that's the time
then
you're
you have
going
to use it.
That's right. That's when it's going to come out, is when it's when you're put to the task of having to shift into that gear, and that's where you can't pick a guy.
Mhm. Right. Well, Mark Klein told me with SEAL Fit, part of the reason he did it was the Navy can't figure out who is going to get through. They got to start with 90 guys, 100 guys, whatever, to get down to the 20 or 30 or whatever the number they want. But they can't say, well, these 60 guys or these 40 guys, don't even invite them. That's what he said. They just can't, they spend millions of dollars trying to figure it out, but at the end of the day, you just don't know who's going to get through. Were you ever surprised with some of the guys that got through?
Yeah, absolutely.
In your whole career?
Yeah, and my class all the way through. And like I said, towards the latter part of my career, which I include the civil service portion of that, in that 16 years, I was invited a couple times by another fellow SEAL to come down and observe a little different process. One of it was they go into a couple motivational sessions. And there was a master chief that was key to that and invited me down for my bicentennial class. So I got to speak at that. Guys going through 216 and then I think 316, or it just rolls on.
Right.
But you have an ability to see these guys face to face, and even on the indicators from the beginning, you can't tell when it really comes down, push to shove, who's going to be. And he would say the same thing. He'd look at him and go, I can't. There's no way to know.
Okay. And when you're actually on a team, how strong is the brotherhood part?
When you get through the training and you know that you've got that as a this is something we've done together. This is something we've weathered. And then you find the bond.
Okay. And then they send you off to what? How do you get selected to go to a team? Or do they just, you're going to team 6, you're going to team 5? How does that work?
It all is, it's really a matter of the overarching ebb and flow of time.
Okay.
In some periods, it's a matter of
leaving this team.
Right. We're needing to build another team. That happened for a period of time when we expanded out to more teams on both coasts. There was times where some teams wouldn't have enough, and they would start moving guys over there as a predominant. These things are all kind of cyclic.
What's it like when you join the team, like day one? Here's the new guy.
When my era,
Yeah.
it was a very different process because we had only 2 SEAL teams, and then there was 2 additional UDT teams per coast.
Okay.
So everybody wanted to angle for that, either SEAL Team 1 on the West Coast or SEAL Team 2 on the East Coast. And then the UDT teams were the ones that, well, you're just UDT.
Okay.
You're just UDT. So we always got a big kick out of that when the competitions came up. And when UDT would beat the SEAL teams at something, then it was, oh, that's right, but we're just UDT. And, over time, it became more I want to go to the team that has the best leadership. I'd like to go. So there was really no consistently better team.
Okay. So when you showed up and met the guys.
Yeah. Then you kind of knew what the training cells were about back in those days. Now they've got a centralized training cadre, and what they call SQT, SEAL qualification training. And then they've got...
That's after buds?
It's right after buds, and you just go straight into that.
And then you get selected.
Then you go into your team.
Okay. And then when you get into the team the first day and you get issued your gear?
You got gear along the way.
Okay, so you bring your gear.
You bring your gear, and then you might get some additional gear as you get specialized into something, what your platoon, what your team is focused on.
You got to
just
prove yourself on the team.
Oh,
when you get
yeah,
there.
yeah. You still are underneath a period of time where you're being watched and where you have to not have trouble, get into trouble, show that you can perform at the level that they need you to perform.
To the officer and the guys on the team.
Yes,
To everybody.
to everybody.
They got to trust you.
You've got to have the bond. You've got to have the trust. And it becomes very apparent if you have a cycle of problems or you're not meeting the marks of training, then the leadership, specifically the senior enlisted leadership, will start to pay close attention to that individual.
I see. So you don't want to be that guy.
No, you don't want to have that hanging over your head. It's not a good start. We've all gone through, there's every SEAL, every frogman would tell you that they've all had their times of being down.
Yeah.
Problems with whatever.
And would you say your faith pulled you out?
I would say
minimize those.
when I would put my faith and priority in my Lord and my direction, I was on a good path. Things were working. When I decided to do the Dave path, commonly referred to as the My Way Highway. We have an evangelist that is part of our church ministry, and they call that the My Way Highway. So you get on that. Yeah, you do. And you start thinking of yourself bigger than what hey, I'm an elite sailor, I'm an elite soldier, I'm an elite individual.
You have to suppress that.
You've got to continually remember you're still just a man. You're fallible. You're gonna make mistakes. You're not anything greater than what God will allow you to.
How much? We'll close with this, but how valuable was your SEAL training to your current ministry?
I think it became part of who I am. It provided me tremendous confidence. It provided me the Lord's vision. Giving me the opportunity to move through life and see making things happen. In other words, seeing the next benchmark, not knowing all the time, but yes, it was definitely the strongest and best influence in the troubles that I had and the things that I got into. Even down towards the end of my career, I had a setback. But it was all, and what the Lord will do is take those things, if you remain consistent, and turn those negative things into positives. He will work those things together for good.
And so was that your belief when you hit an obstacle that the Lord is with you to help you get you through it? Whatever his plan is.
Absolutely.
Which could be closing the door and you got to go this way.
That's right. That's exactly right. Is that you've got to be prepared for the disappointment. This is where I
shake your fist at the Lord.
No, there's no Lieutenant Dan moment that doesn't.
Okay, right.
It has bad ramifications.
Yeah.
But
okay. Well, Dave, this has been really, really good. This has been great. I know that our current people and future people, this will be a very memorable one. So thank you.
You're welcome, Ed. It's a pleasure.
And hey, Randy, can you say cut?
Cut.
Okay. And one more time. And cut.
And cut.
Okay, there we go.